pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll do introductions of the members of the canvassing board. Where do we start at?
We'll start over there with Kim.
Kim Cassian, Stark County Recorder. Not on the canvassing board, I'm just here. County State's Attorney.
Joan Heckerman, Dem NPL representative for District 37.
Mitch Baszler, District 37 Chairman for the GOP representative.
And I'm Corey White, Stark County Commissioner.
Karen Richard, the Stark County Auditor.
Jerome Messer of Richardson, District 36 Chair.
And I'm Steve Josephson. I'm a stand-in for Karen, who am I standing in for?
You are standing in for the Democratic Party, District 36.
Okay, well, I'm standing, Karen wrangled me this morning and said, so I'm standing in for Democratic Party, District 36.
All right. Next, we'll move on to the oath of office.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and give everybody their oaths. So you would repeat after me.
Do we have to stand for this? Okay.
I, having been appointed to the office of Canvass Board within and for said county,
I, Kim Cassian, having been to the office of the Canvass Board within and for said county,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
do solemnly swear that I support the Constitution of the
United States and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Canvass Board according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Canvass Board according to the best of my ability, so help me God.
Yep, you'll have to sign on the right-hand side, and then I will sign the bottom one. You can use red if you want. That's fine. That's just for the balance. I black too. If anybody else needs a different color pen, here,
I just thought
red's
red-
fine.
I thought red was fitting.
Red's fine. Yep. And let me just. Okay, and Amanda, did you want to do mine, or Kim, or who else has an oath of office? Corey, did you want to do my oath of office?
Yeah, either one of them.
Corey can, because you've done an oath of office, so. Do you want me to just read it off? I can just read it if you want. I, Karen Richard, having been appointed to the office of Canvass Board within for said county, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of North Dakota, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the Canvass Board according to the best of my ability. So help me God. I'll have you sign here as a witness.
What's this one here?
This one's for yours. I'll sign here.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. I'll take your other ones if you guys have signed them, just to try to keep track of them. Okay.
We'll move on to, you got everybody's?
Yep.
To item 5. The following ballots need to be determined by the Canvas Board, North Dakota election law guidance for acceptance or rejection.
So I just wanted to put in there the North Dakota election law guidance so that you had an idea. We have quite a few ballots to go through. Ballots to be accepted include postmarked prior to election day, no postmark, ineligible postmark, verified set-aside ballots, and emergency ballots. Ballots that are more situational and require greater debate are ballots with missing or questionable signatures, and the ballots must be accepted if the voter cured the ballot by writing a letter or visiting the county, confirm they voted the ballot. So we have, I think, something that falls under every single one of these categories. So I just wanted to go over that with all of you so that you know what the Secretary of State law guidance is on that. Okay? I'll go grab my ballots and we can start.
So what do? Do we just mark it, or do we,
Oh, no, you're about to look at every ballot.
I know that, but
Yep.
then in terms of the voting, do we mark that, or do we?
Yeah, we'll vote 'em.
Or do we, or verbally say?
No, so I'm gonna have you look at all of them. Like, we're gonna start with category A. You'll look at all of the ones in category A. We'll go over each of these people are listed, and then somebody will do a motion to accept or reject both ballots. So if you see, I did write out the motion for you,
Okay,
so that way, accept or reject. That's the part that you'll have to
And then
include yourself.
we'll call out an accept or reject motion.
Yep, and then we'll need a second, and then we'll do, just a roll call vote. I don't even know if it needs to be a roll call, just.
We didn't, we just.
We just
approved
do
or
a
opposed.
aye, overall
Yeah.
aye.
Either way, that works for me. Unless you have any nays, then I'll have to make sure I document that, so.
So this first one would be suggested motion A, move to accept or reject 2 ballots received in the mail after the 11/4/24 deadline, but postmark is not legible.
Just a point of clarification, though, we can vote on these separately, each ballot separately, right? We don't have to do a motion to reject both at the same time?
Well, the only thing is that they're grouped into the same issue. So if you're accepting that one ballot from that one person for that issue, you kind of,
But you basically gotta accept them both.
Gotcha.
Kinda, it's they're the same scenario, but they might reflect different dates. They're still the same scenario. So you
Gotcha.
Yeah.
either move to reject one or both, or,
Perfect, thank you.
oh yeah, make sure everybody's mic is on when you're speaking into them. Okay. So this was the Group A. And they were received in the mail after the 11/4 deadline, but the postmark is not legible. So we have 2 for this group. I'll start this one down here. You can go ahead and pass it down as you look at it. And then yep, it's over there. Yep. So you'll see your absentee application on front, and then the postmark is going to be on the envelope on the back. And just so everybody knows, the deadline for absentee is 11/4 by 5 p.m. Or if it's postmarked 11/4 and received after that. So this one, they're not legible, but they were received after 11/4. Now, the North Dakota election law guidance for this specific one is because it's not legible, you're supposed to give the voter the benefit of the doubt. So that's their guidance.
Not legible.
Because it's not them, it's the errors on the post office part.
Right.
Okay.
It's illegible. It's on the backside, that stamp part. It's over the stamp, so it's like smeared off. It's smeared off on the stamp, basically.
It's right there.
Yeah.
It's right there.
Oh, on that one? Oh, I didn't see that one yet.
Yeah, I got this one.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was talking about, sorry.
This is one of the other ones.
So our post offices, we're doing a really good job of trying to get our ballots to us very quickly, and so some of them don't have postmarks, but they came from the post office. So just so you're aware.
I need to see them, yes.
What you say?
Yeah, you just can't tell, but it's old, so.
Yeah, because it, under the stamp, okay.
I just think with the guidance that has been given by the state, I move to accept these two.
I'll second.
Okay. All in favor of accepting, say aye.
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 And all to reject? Any rejections? All right. Accepted it is.
I'll take both of these and we'll add it to our count. Will be my count files right now. Okay, for Group B, we have moved to accept, reject 3 ballots received in the mail after the 11/4 deadline, but are not postmarked at all. So we probably could have put that other one in the same category, the Kristen Johnson. But these ones don't have any sort of postmark.
But they were received in the mail?
Yes.
All right, not the not the drop box, but in the mail.
Right. Yep.
Okay.
And you're gonna see they do have stamps on them. I think the post office was a little panicked about making sure that we get our ballots,
What,
and they just
what's the state
Instead of them
guidance?
going to
What's the state
Bismarck.
guidance regarding that?
to accept them
Okay,
because it's not the voters' fault that they didn't postmark them.
wow. They put 2 forever stamps on it.
You'll also see on your sheet that we do put, like I put when they were received by our office. So you can probably tell that they were in the mail on time because we received them on November 5th in the mail with our mail.
Can you clarify that rule again? Is it supposed to be in your office by the 4th?
Yes, by the 4th, they're supposed to, the 5th, by 5 p.m. on the 4th. But if it's postmarked November 4th,
Okay.
we go by that postmark.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Because I see one of these is signed by the voter on the 4th, right?
That's still acceptable. I
Yep,
mean,
yep,
they,
that's
that
what I
would
wanted
be
to
the-
clarify.
yes.
Yep.
And until 5 o'clock.
Sure.
Yeah, because
Yep.
if it's postmarked, that's considered,
So I'm guessing that these ballots were received by the post office from voters on the 4th, and instead of trying to drop them in the mail, they just stuck them in our P.O. box. And so that's where we're like missing that step. And then we picked them up on the 5th. So.
If you're looking for a motion, I would move to accept all three of those.
Second.
All right. We have a motion to accept. All those in favor of accepting, say aye.
Aye.
Same for rejection. Okay, it's been accepted.
These are the pretty easy standard ones. The ones that we have no guidance that are more fun. Okay, on to category C. This is another one that's very similar. Move to accept, reject 9 ballots received in the mail after the 11/4 deadline, but were postmarked prior to 11/4. This is very common, especially if they're getting mailed from other cities or states. And so, but they are postmarked appropriately.
That's not uncommon. When it comes out there, where we're out the farm, sometimes take 2 weeks to get mail back.
Yeah, that's, mail deliveries have been an issue.
Okay, so I'll bust these up a little bit. There is 9 of them.
But these are all postmarked.
They're all postmarked before the 11/4 deadline.
Okay.
So they were in the mail.
Well, here, Karen, what about this? Where's the postmark on this? Oh, I see. It got ripped off. It got ripped off the end. The postmark is back here.
Oh yeah, that one was a little.
It got shredded or something. Okay.
Envelope.
Okay. Here you go.
Mr. Chairman, I move to accept these ballots.
Well, there's a motion. I'll go ahead and second it.
I will second upon seeing the remaining of the ballots.
Oh, okay.
Switch spots with me? I certainly can.
So is that gonna be Steve or Kim that is seconding that?
I will second.
She can second.
No, they're unopened.
Yeah, they're not
So
open yet.
until you accept or reject. open the envelope if you accept them. If you choose to reject ballots, the envelope is never opened and they're put into the recorder's vault, actually.
So we have a motion on C from Jerry to accept. Looking for a
And
second.
I will second confirming the rest of the ballots.
Okay, we have a second. All in favor for acceptance, say aye.
Aye.
Same for rejection? Accepted.
Okay, we are on to Group D. It's move to accept or reject 10 ballots received in the mail after the 11/4/24 deadline, but were postmarked on 11/4/24. So these were postmarked timely, but we received them after the deadline. So they weren't processed with absentee. It's kind of similar to the one before.
Okay. So Karen, I just wanted to check, so here in North Dakota, if, even though this is postmarked November the 4th, but because it was received after it, they can't be counted, is that?
They can.
They can.
No, I can be, but it's gotta go to this board first. You can't automatically say, these are postmarked the 4th. All right, okay, gotcha.
Yep.
I will make the motion to accept these ballots.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion to accept and a second. All in favor of accepting it, say aye.
Aye.
Same for rejecting it. They are accepted.
Okay, we'll move on to Group E. So these 5 are different scenarios. So the deadline for absentee votes is to be postmarked, dropped off, what have you, by 11/4 deadline. or if they are missing a postmark or are
Illegible.
Illegible, illegible.
Yes. We count them, giving the voter the benefit of the doubt, okay? These specific ballots were received in the mail, there's 5 of them, after the 11/4 deadline, and were postmarked 11/5/24, so Election Day, which is after the deadline. But that is up to the board to decide.
Is there state guidance for this?
I mean,
Yeah.
technically, they should not be counted, but that's.
So we're looking for a motion on item E.
I will make a motion to reject these ballots as the postmark does not apply with state law.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion, and we have a second for rejection. All in favor of rejection, say aye.
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 All in favor for accepting, same. The 5 are rejected.
Okay.
How soon are the ballots available? I mean, when can they pick up the ballots to vote?
So absentee starts at you can put in your application. I mean, some of these applications are from the primary. And so once absentee is able to start, it's like the end of September. We will automatically send them out if you check that box for the primary application. If you did not, then you have to request one with an application. So it's over a month.
It's over a month. I'm
Yeah.
just-
The only thing I would add too is that if somebody thinks they're not going to get it mailed in time, they can always do early voting
Yeah,
too. So that's an.
And go
it-
vote the same day.
And vote on election day, so it's not as if there aren't options.
Yep, so we have absentee, we have early voting the week before election, we have election day voting. There's definitely options, so. And we're gonna go over some that are a little trickier. So you'll see what I mean by you do have options and we do try our best to get things correct. So let's move on to F. So there's only one ballot. It's moved to accept or reject one ballot hand-delivered from the post office after the 11/4 deadline and is not postmarked. So on November 5th, the post office handed us this ballot with no postmark. Okay, on November 5th. So,
My question is, because there was no postmark, could have that been turned in on the 4th?
You need to have your mic on.
well, when the post office handed it to us on the 5th, and we picked up mail on the 4th already multiple times. So it's just whether or not, if you want to count it, I understand because it came from the post office. They didn't hand deliver it to us, which we are about to have one that was hand delivered to us. So, but this is from the post office. So this is what I mean by they're getting trickier, right?
Is there state guidance on this too?
See, this is where it's more of a debate. In my mind, I would probably count it because it was not turned into our office, and so I have no way to verify that they turned it into them 11/5 or was it 11/4? So I guess I stand giving them the
And or if
benefit.
it was in the post office box the night,
Right. that
you
was
know.
my question.
Bottom of a bag or something.
Exactly, or even, you know.
No, the post office hand delivered it to us.
Right, I know, but
Yeah.
it could be sitting in the post office, you know,
Yeah.
at 5 o'clock, they delivered it the next morning on the 5th. I mean, do you remember the time frame on when it was delivered? I was just kinda curious, cause I could see if it was like maybe end of the day or maybe early morning, then you could maybe kind of verify, go off
The
that to
post
where-
office just dropped it off directly to us because I think it was there.
What's the
So-
difference, Karen, between the F and the G? Because it says one is delivered from the post office, the other is delivered to the auditor's office.
So the post office brought us this ballot. So the
Yep.
voter gave it to the post office. For G, the voter brought it to my office.
Oh,
So
okay, got
I
it,
know
okay.
when they dropped it off,
Got it.
right?
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
We also don't know if the voter dropped it personally off to the post office or if it just wasn't postmarked because they decided to just hand deliver it to us because they knew they were coming up to the deadline. We just don't know.
So it's because there's a second party involved.
Yes.
So there's no way of knowing where the error, where the action occurred, if it was the voter or if it was the post office, so.
Right. Not specifically on this one.
Okay. All right, thanks.
So on item F, looking for a motion.
Make a motion to accept the ballot.
I'll second that.
We got a motion to accept and a second. All in favor of accepting, say aye.
Aye.
Same for rejection. It is accepted.
Okay. Okay, well, we'll move on to the next one, Group G. It's just one ballot, and this one was hand-delivered to us after the 11/4 deadline on Election Day, November 5th. The voter would have been, when they hand-deliver it to us, they would have been informed that they can go vote at the polling location, but that their ballot, the deadline was the day before. So that's why it's a little easier for us to differentiate these, right? So,
I will make a motion to reject said ballot.
And I'll second that.
We have a motion to reject and a second. All in favor of rejection, say aye.
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 Same for accepting. It is rejected.
Okay, we'll move on to Group H. So move to accept or reject. These 3 ballots were placed in the drop box after the 11/4/24 deadline. The deadline is 5 o'clock. It says so even on, I'm pretty sure on the actual, yeah. Yep, it says it even on the envelope that they're turning over. Wait, on the application. We definitely have that everywhere. And there was actually a sign placed on the ballot drop box saying the deadline for absentee ballots was 5 o'clock on 11/4. And at 5 o'clock, we go out and check the drop box. So,
And I guess that's just, my office is adjacent to the auditor's office, and I know when, Karen's people go up and talk to people, they're really clear. They're really clear about the dates, when it has to be postmarked or when it needs to be dropped off. So that's the only thing I'm gonna add, is they're very clear about that.
What's the, oh, yeah. How do you handle the ones that are rejected? You just put them in the vote, like you said?
yes, so
But the people who voted don't know that they were rejected.
well, it actually, so the ones that are accepted, you're gonna have voter history.
Right.
Right, so, but the ones that are rejected, they're in the system and I have to put for do not count.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
And they never get opened.
right,
right, it's never opened.
okay. I mean, if they're putting them in the Dropbox this day, they have options. When they get to the Dropbox and read that the deadline is the day before, they have options.
Yeah, so these were more than like, I mean, there would have been a sign on the front of the Dropbox, basically saying your deadline is passed.
Yep.
So they could have taken that ballot to a voting location and got issued a new ballot on election day. That's when you're getting to that 11/5 day, that's your option. So
And I'll add to that too, a lot of people, they come in for their absentee ballots and they vote the same day. You know, they set up a couple of tables out in the hallway, and a lot of times people will just they'll vote and turn their absentee ballots in the same day that they pick them up. I noticed this one was affidavit was signed back in October, you know, so the opportunity is there.
Yeah, but they didn't put it in the,
But the
mail it to us
opportunity-
or Dropbox.
Yeah, the opportunity is there to have either put it in the Dropbox that day or, you know, giving it to somebody, sealing it and giving it to somebody there or whatever.
Drop
so-
it off for them.
Yeah,
That's an
or
option.
just even turn it in that day, so.
I will make a motion to reject these ballots.
Second.
We have a motion to reject and a second. All in favor of rejecting, say aye.
Aye.
Same for accepting. They are rejected.
Joan, that was you that seconded it? Yeah. Sorry, I'm taking my own minutes too, so. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so let me get the rejected ones. Okay, we will move on to one that's under its own special category here as well. It's moved to accept or reject one ballot that was placed in the drop box prior to the 11/4 deadline, but the voter affidavit, I'll show you what that looks like, was not properly signed by the voter. Okay. The voter could not sign on the day of the deadline as he was under anesthesia. So when they dropped it in the box, we called them and said, because you have to sign this voter affidavit, right? And we said, you did not sign your voter affidavit, which is the only thing we have to verify to their applications that it's the same voter, which we're about to go through quite a few of those, right? And they were under. So it's up to the board on that one.
They didn't try to rectify it after the fact, or would you guys have allowed something like that?
We don't allow, well, it would be kind of an emergency situation, but we
extenuating
don't
circumstance.
allow set aside voting on absentee,
Okay.
right? Because if you're absentee voting, you have usually time,
Right.
right?
Okay.
And so we don't allow set
No
aside
special
voting on
circumstances.
absentee.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Which makes sense.
Do you know when the person, was that mailed to them or picked up or whatever? I'm just wondering how many days before the election. There's nothing on there that says it.
application was originally signed for us to give them a ballot, which we turn around very quickly on 10/22. Okay? So. It's just one special circumstance there.
And no one else can attest to that either?
On which part?
On that was that person's signature? Nobody else could come in and verify on that and attest to that was the person, that was their intent or not?
Well, no, because they would have had to sign the sheet to give that person the right
Okay, yeah.
to sign, right? Yes,
What about-
right,
what
to be
about-
able to even sign, yeah.
What about this other issue on here? I'm just reading the note where it says voter put envelope in wrong envelope, attempted, because I know they're supposed to put it in, there's a procedure to follow.
So there's a lot of, we do get ballots where they forget to put it in their secrecy envelope and then put it in the other envelope. That happens a lot. It doesn't happen very often because usually we mail them in those blue envelopes. But I would guess that this person probably picked it up in person, and then we put all of their stuff in that blue envelope so they could take it with them. And instead of doing the voter affidavit and signing it and returning it in that envelope with the signature, that just wasn't done at all. So we just don't have any way to verify that that's that person.
And I'm guessing there's not really any state guidance on this one, is there? Okay. This is kind of this happens every once in a while.
This is a loner situation, but we are going to have some that are similar, but it's not full on missing a signature per se. It's more just, yeah.
So in turn, it was kind of an accident how it happened, in a way.
I don't know. I'm not, I mean, I'm not really inclined, I'm not really inclined to accept this because we don't, there are just too many variables. There are
I
just too
mean,
many
there
variables here.
are. Absolutely. I don't disagree with you.
There are too many variables. I mean,
I would vote, or I would make a motion to reject this ballot on the basis that we do not have a signature for verification that he actually did it himself.
I will second that.
Okay, we got a motion to reject it and a second. All in favor of rejection, say aye.
Aye.
Same to accept. Ballot is rejected.
Okay. Okay, so category J, it's move to accept or reject 6 ballots processed by the absentee board and determine to have signatures that do not match on the absentee application compared to the voter affidavit. So what this means is the only way that we can verify that that voter is the one that voted that ballot is when you turn in an application, you sign it. When we get your absentee ballot back with the voter affidavit, we are checking that signature against the application to make sure that it was you who filled out the ballot and signed it. So these ones were determined by the absentee board that the signatures don't match, okay? And we have 6 of them.
No.
Well, I mean, it does get a little iffy because if we sent out that ballot because you requested it in the primary, and it goes to the address, and let's say you're out of town or whatever, and somebody decides to fill it out and sign it for you, this is our only way of knowing.
Karen, I do have a question about this one. So this looked like this was signed online, or is it a copy, or that doesn't look like that looks like a copy of something, or
So it's like
an e-signature or something like that?
So
Do you allow e-signatures?
Yeah, but they are aware, right, that that's how we're verifying. So they could sign it online. It's actually a fax.
Oh, my goodness.
If you look, that's from a fax. So,
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna turn. Whoa.
And so if you look at some of them and you feel like some of them should be accepted and maybe some of them shouldn't, that's where I would more like, yeah, I would probably, you can split those because you're making a determination on a. I would if you do have that, right? I'm kind of going to vote with whatever the board decides on because I've already looked at all of them and I made your sheet, so.
Also, when looking at these, you guys, also look at the date, how the date is written, because you can almost tell if somebody else wrote the date differently, if they made their twos different, or how 10 is written, or 11, or whatever. Just make note that into consideration as well. It's like a fax.
So some of them we receive fax, some of them we receive in the mail, some of them we receive in person, and then also email. So we do receive the applications multiple ways.
So this one here looks like maybe it was signed on a screen or something?
The other thing we will also do is we will look up their actual driver's license and look at that signature. So we do have quite a few checks in place, just so you know, we are trying to clear them up before they get to this point, which you'll see in the next group, so.
Karen, what's the difference between J and K? Because I see you contacted on K, but you weren't able to reach on J?
So the ones that were determined by the absentee board is
Okay.
not the auditor's office.
Okay, gotcha.
Yep, so that means that they came in like right when the absentee board was already processing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is tough.
I told you they'd get harder.
Yeah.
There's only one L on the signature.
Sure.
There's another one.
I'm not inclined.
So the absentee board is made up of, what did we have? 5 people processing the absentee ballots, plus Pam from the auditor's office was the inspector. So that's how many people that look and go through the ballots.
Eric Sticka and Richard Swan.
You want to look at those?
They're both over here. I'm still looking at Eric's.
Down there.
That must be the contemplating one.
That's Richard's. That's Aaron. I'm looking at
Oh,
Eric.
you're
I'm looking at Eric's right now.
Here's Richard. You wanted to look at this one again?
Do we want to go through these as a group or individually? What would be
So
easier?
if you have some that you're, I would do the ones that you're going to accept in a motion, and then if you have some that you're gonna reject in a motion, or do all one motion, we are going to accept these ones and reject these ones.
So I would like to make a motion that we divide these individually. I would believe there's probably going to be a little bit of discussion on each individual signature that some people might see and some people might not see. So I'll make a motion that we divide J into separate applications and vote on them independently.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion to do them individually and a second. So has everybody had time to look over them all? All right, on item J, individual number 1, looking for a motion.
Yeah, I'll vote to reject number 1.
I will second.
We got a motion to reject and a second. All in favor of rejection, say aye.
Aye.
Same for approval. Item number 1 is rejected. Looking for a motion for item number 2.
I make a motion that we accept item number 2. I will just say that I believe I saw some similarities with the M and the R in the flow of the E's. So in my unexpert opinion, I would conclude that it was similar enough to accept the application.
I'll second that.
I've got a motion to accept and a second for item number 2. All in favor for accepting item number 2, say aye.
Aye.
Same for rejection.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait, how many did we have for, I'm sorry. How many did we have for acceptance? I'm sorry. The 3, and then rejection we had. Are you accepting or rejecting? Because you're my tiebreaker.
I'm accepting,
You're accepting?
correct.
Okay, so
So
these get tricky.
is it 4-2 then? Is that what you got?
So
Three
there
to
were
three.
3.
3-3.
No, my vote.
Oh.
Yeah,
So what did
I
you?
accepted it.
Okay.
Okay, motion has been accepted. Item number 3, looking for motion.
I'll make a motion to reject item number 3 due to the signature being print. that doesn't clarify a signature or
Second.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor of rejection for item number 3, say aye.
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 Same for acceptance. Is rejected. Item number 4. Looking for a motion.
I make a motion to reject.
Have a motion to reject.
I'll second that.
Have a second. All in favor of rejection for item number 4, say aye.
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 Same with acceptance.
aye.
Is
You're,
rejected.
one acceptance.
Item number 5, looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept item number 5. I will say the last name did line up, be it space or what writing surface that they had on. I thought it was similar enough for the last name to justify us accepting that application.
Have a motion to accept.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor of accepting item number 5, say aye.
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 Same for no.
Aye.
1. It is accepted.
You said 1 no, Kim, right?
Last one, item number 6.
I'll make a motion to reject. It is clear that it's not the same signature.
I'll second that.
A motion, we have a second. All in favor of rejection, say aye.
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 Same for accepting. It is rejected.
Oops.
Let me. Reese and Eric? Okay. So, we will move on to Group K. This one should be a little bit easier because as you'll see, there's quite a process. It's to move to accept or reject 7 ballots processed by the auditor's office and determined to have signatures that do not match on the absentee application compared to the voter affidavit. So the difference is that these ones were turned to us prior to the absentee board. And so every single one of these people were contacted in some way that there was an issue with their signature and they needed to send us either a copy of their driver's license or come in and show us something that this was them, okay? If you see where they were just contacted by the phone, then you see where attempted phone call, didn't get a hold of them, so we sent a letter. If they were contacted via phone and they said, yes, we will send you something, and then they didn't send anything, we're not going to send them a letter as well. So that's where you're going to see a little bit of variances. To me, it is the voter's responsibility to, it's nice of us to contact you and tell you to come fix it. So
Karen, in other words, none of these people provided a driver's license or came into the auditor's office to try and cure,
right.
to try and take care of it.
None of them provided the documentation or correction or something to show us that this was them, even though they've been contacted.
Okay.
So, and you'll see that on the front is a signature mismatch verification. So if they had brought in their driver's license, we would have put the date on there, which we did do some of them because they went to absentee board. And then we would have attached the verification, the driver's license, like we need something. So
Just point of clarification too. So if you contacted them and they knew that there was an issue with their absentee ballot, that doesn't withhold them from going to the polling locations on the election day to actually do a physical. Okay. So they could have the option of saying, oh, I can't make it into the auditor's office. I'm not going to rectify it here. I'll just go in on November 5th and vote with what I need. They have that option.
they do have that option, absolutely, yep. So if somebody goes to the polling location on election day to vote, and we will scan their ID, and it'll say voter, absentee ballot application sent, or not application, absentee ballot sent or received, or what have you. Then they have to call the office, and we have to verify that we didn't receive that ballot back. And if we did, then obviously they can't vote, because they've already voted. If we,
Basically preventing them from voting twice.
absolutely, yep. So we do have a way to,
But they would call you and then you would say, well, we didn't have the correct.
well, the clerk would have called, and we would have said, we don't have the correct information to cast this.
Karen,
Yeah.
I've got a question for you. So on one of these, they signed this, but they didn't sign the affidavit. Okay,
Yeah, so they were contacted.
okay, all right, so
That's
that,
why they needed to send,
yeah, so the,
yeah, that's why they needed to, that one I think needed to send, like, they need to send a copy of their ID or show us their ID.
Oh, who was that? That was
we have another,
Yoder, right? That one I just handed to was Yoder, right? Yes, okay. Marked on the first one.
And we did have more, I mean, quite a bit more. We had about 4 pages of these, right? And all those people did come in and,
Okay.
yeah. So it's not like nobody comes in, it's just these
Yeah,
ones
and-
did not.
yeah, I know one time I was, and it's like, well, I'm right here, here's my driver's license, so. I mean, sometimes you do things, you sign stuff standing up, you sign stuff in a hurry, or sometimes arthritis kicks in, but. Okay. Yeah, I noticed we had another faxed one from it looks like from the same household maybe, so.
Yeah, we get applications, quite a few ways there. The signature is the only thing that we can somewhat do to make sure that whoever did the application has given us it back. I mean, like I said, we do look up people's driver's license and do that kind of stuff, but
This doesn't even match.
well, yeah. Oh, that's why
Even that.
that's why we contacted them.
This doesn't even match.
Yeah, that's why we contacted them. So they would have had to bring in their ID to show us that it was them. Yep.
No, you're good. Oh. Yes.
This one.
So if their application didn't have a signature, why would they still get a ballot?
I mean, that's a valid question. I think it kind of, that one might have went through the cracks a little bit because we have to pull all of the primary ones as well.
Right.
That also check the general box.
Yeah.
So that's why we would also have contacted them, you know. But somebody maybe just took that application and didn't see that part and sent out the ballots because we send out a lot of ballots.
You do, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you guys do a lot of work.
It does wound up
and
being a lot. And
Yeah.
so I think it probably just got overlooked. So then they wanted verification that that was them. And you also look at the driver's license website, so they went ahead, that wouldn't have matched either.
Right, okay.
So there would have been other things, right?
That seems,
And do you have that one? 'Cause I'm guessing that one has.
yeah, true. Yeah, they could have come in. The rest of us would have, so.
Yeah, well, it's just one of those things where you gotta go through all the process. And then if you look at the addresses, you know, if they're from way out of town, you could see, but, you know, most of these are from,
Compared to what their license is, but.
you know.
Agreed.
Thank goodness
But
we
if there's no signature to go off
on-
of, how
it's
do you
on-
compare it to something?
It's the other question everybody
I would guess
you know, some of these ballots could have
that
city
this
elections.
person
No, because the city elections went back in
probably
June.
did this
They would have already
online.
done those.
I mean, online.
This is all, this is all.
Somebody got, like they did their ballot, they requested, they did this application in person, and then they took their ballot
In the general, yeah.
with them.
So it would have been the commission, it would have been all the
And then it
state
was signed.
offices, you know,
Would be my guess.
whichever.
This still
whichever-
should have been signed, yes,
So,
I agree,
no,
but
it
I'm
didn't
saying
affect
it
what's
was
going on in the
missed.
city, 'cause
And
all-
so,
Still,
I
it
understand
takes
that
two
helps,
people.
that makes me feel better.
Yeah,
There's
that-
checks and balances.
yeah, the city
As a
elections
voter,
are
you
the
should
spring.
be aware that you're filling out an application.
and we did speak to them on the phone and told them,
And they didn't come in to justify it, so,
right.
you know, that's also on me.
The only other thing is, did they have an application for the primary, and did he have to do another application?
I looked at this box and I don't see a check mark in the primary.
there's not.
And what is the date? Does it say the date on here? The date on
This one's
here, 10/22. So my guess is this was a fresh one because they don't have that box checked for the primary. Which we do not send out ballots unless it's checked. And then also, a lot of people get very confused because they think that if they check those squares, that they will receive a ballot for the rest of their life every single election. It's every year, right? Every year, new application.
Mr. Chairman, I move to reject these ballots.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second to reject. All in favor of rejecting these ballots, say aye.
Aye.
Same for accepting. They are rejected.
This, yeah, this one will probably need a lot of explanation on.
Oh, yes. Actually, I don't think it'll be as bad as you think.
I mean, I can see some of, just from the information here.
5, 7, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay.
Yeah, perhaps here, Karen, you need to explain to us, just refresh us in terms of what's considered a valid ID for voting in the state of North Dakota. I mean, we know, but it's good to get the refresher.
Absolutely. So, this will be Group L. So these are 32 set-aside ballots not cured by voters at the auditor's office after the election with supporting documentation. So these 32 ballots came from the polling locations, okay? When the voter did their set-aside ballot, they were given a piece of paper and informed that they needed some sort of documentation or anything to cure this ballot at the auditor's office, at the courthouse. It's all on the piece of paper before canvassing, okay? They were also informed that it's a set-aside ballot and that there was issues, like what the issue was, right? So, the voters' ballots are put into these set-aside envelopes, okay? And we'll go over, I think, two that were a little funky. Anyway, so the poll pad will print off set-aside voter, so that way their poll clerks are not off on how many people checked in versus went through the machine. But you'll see where we're off one, and I'll show you where that is. So there is a whole process, and then they write the issue, and they sign off on here, and then that voter has the obligation. And you can see on here where it talks about canvassing board, okay? Saying not to open it prior to canvassing board. And most of them, we have the voter's initials. Some of them we don't. I mean, I do election worker training, but these always kind of throw people through a loop, right? But we did do more extensive training. So there are ballots in all of these, and here are some of the issues, okay? So the guidance, by the way, from the law is the ballots must be accepted if the voter cured the ballot or brought their information. They could have emailed me their driver's license, their North Dakota driver's license. Like, there was a lot of options, and they had all the way up until today to do it. We did have a couple that were cured at the auditor's office by bringing proper identification. None of these were, okay? So proper identification. To vote in North Dakota, you have to have a North Dakota ID. And you'll see a lot of these had either no ID, an invalid ID, an out-of-state ID, only a citizenship card, but no North Dakota ID. They needed address proof with supplemental. So multiple of issues, citizen verification. Yeah. So you have to be a United States citizen, and you have to be a North Dakota resident to vote in North Dakota.
And it also has to be valid.
Well,
Correct.
Well,
Like,
it could be an expired license, though.
can be?
It can be an expired license, because we have some people that don't get their license renewed because they can no longer drive.
So Karen,
But you have to
ID
have a
would be-
North Dakota ID.
would be a driver's license, or I know there's also a state ID that
Or
you
a
can
state
get-
ID,
Or a state ID.
Yep.
And then what would address verification?
So
Even like-
address
Yeah,
verification comes into play when your address on your ID does not match, okay, what you're saying. So that you have to answer yes or no on a have you lived it here for 30 days, or if your license is different than what is on our system, they can just update it. So if it doesn't match, then you need to show us an electric bill or show us something to say that this is your address so that we can update it in our system. So what I went over with the election workers is part of the reason why we have to have something as far as the North Dakota ID goes, because a lot of people said, well, I don't have a North Dakota ID because I'm not changing my residency, okay? We are the only state that does not do voter registration. If we do not require them to have a North Dakota ID, we have no way to verify that they didn't also vote in their state where they are from. So just to kind of put your mind at ease about the North Dakota ID thing, we have to have something. So
How hard is it for these individuals to, it's like, say they have an out-of-state driver's license. How hard is it them to acquire just a North Dakota ID?
It's pretty simple.
That's the point I'm making.
yeah, most of these people were told that and they said, well, I don't want to, right? And then some of them were non-citizen. We did have a lot of discussions with the Secretary of State's office. What does it say on there? How do you prove to us that you are a citizen, what it would look like on the ID? That's why we cure these set-aside ballots at the auditor's office, is because we know specifically what we're looking for, whereas the poll worker, they know a lot because they're going to scan it, but we don't want to make it any more confusing with set-aside ballots on election day. So
and just to be, again, to repeat this, Karen, there were a number of these where they were cured. People showed up with came in with their driver's license or something. There have been a number of these that have been taken care of already.
I wouldn't say a number of them.
But
Usually when this happens,
there have been cases
there'll
where
be like
people-
5, right? So like
But these were the ones that had no intent or did not cure.
did not
did
come
not.
cure their
They had an
ballot.
opportunity
Yeah.
and they didn't.
Yeah.
So,
And like I said, there's 32 of them. I know it seems like a lot, but it's presidential general, so we get way more set-aside ballots.
The only reason why I was questioning is that invalid ID part. That's what I was, which one was that?
Yeah, so they have, invalid ID means that they have like, I don't know, like a DSU or.
Oh, gotcha. Like, so they didn't present the proper identification.
you had a
They don't
chance,
have an
Okay.
actual,
you had a
was that,
chance,
was
That
that
was way at the
a
bottom.
different name though?
you had a chance to prove this and you didn't. So,
I think
you had a long
this was
time.
one of them that didn't have
I mean, what's today's
the North
date?
Dakota.
May
We
10th.
they write on the envelope what the issue is.
Okay.
So we're
Almost
going
had
by
4 weeks to
as
do
close as
this.
we can. to what-
Yep.
I don't know, to me,
Gotcha.
all of this
Some
stuff
of these
is
are the
about
same
fairness,
issue, but they're written in
which
different
is-
terminology.
You know,
Yes,
other-
because we
Each
have-
judge is probably gonna write something a little bit different.
Well, and it wouldn't have been the judge.
Or the
Do we not
inspector.
charge? It was the
Other
inspector in
people
charge, and
have-
we had 5
other
polling
people
locations.
have done it.
So what they wrote on there,
So I know there's some like issues with out-of-state people that are college students, and they have the eligibility to vote. How does that work? Do they?
yes,
Is
They get
that-
a contact or
They would vote with an out-of-state ID at a polling location, and then what would they bring in that application that allows them to vote as a college student?
so all the college students were informed, right, that they had to have this certificate from the college
Okay.
in order to vote. They were informed of that like quite a bit ahead of time because the certificate and stuff is signed off by the college.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured that there was probably a campus-wide email sent out or something.
Yeah,
Let them know.
they really put it out there, especially starting in the primary, they really put it out there. And so we did have one voter that should have been, he should have voted in Dickinson, but I'm guessing he was a college student because he's showing up as voted, that he's a Stark County voter, but he voted in Wapaton. And so I can kind of look at it and just know by his age and the fact that it was in Wapaton that he's probably going to college there. But it was showing up in our vote totals, so that is something that I'm fixing with Secretary of State's office, is because he did, in fact, vote in Wapaton and not on a Dickinson ballot. So I need them to get that updated. Yeah. The college students were also informed that if they went to the polling location, they didn't have that certificate. You know, there was stuff out there where they could have voted absentee. So we had a lot of college students that their primary residence is here in Dickinson, but they're going to school in Fargo. So they would just request an absentee ballot, and they voted absentee. Now, Mitch, were you specifically talking about college students that maybe are, did you say from other states that are going to college here?
Yeah, if they're,
If they maintain their residency in the other state, they wouldn't be able to vote.
they cannot. Okay, I'm unaware
No.
of what the rules or the regulations are. with
Because
the
then they could double
statute.
vote, just like I'm talking
Right,
about.
right.
Right? So we did get out of, we have some students that live in like South Dakota and stuff, go to school down there.
Right.
And they voted absentee.
Gotcha.
Because
It would just
I
be-
know some of those out-of-state kids, like, they don't want to update their driver's license because they're maintaining their
All the kids
parents'
from
insurance or whatever else, so,
their hunting licenses from
Yes.
Montana and stuff like
Lots
that.
of
so,
things.
Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's easier when they're in North Dakota, like a kid in North Dakota, and they're just going to school there and they want to vote on election day. They could show that letter from the college saying they're going to school there, and so they could go vote in that address. Yeah. Yeah, some that certificate also shows their address information, that's where they can go to school. Because now I'm trying to think if there was a specialty thing with the out-of-state ones, but I don't know how we would, other than the school saying that they live here, I don't know how we'd verify that they're not voting out-of-state as well. It changed. So since I started doing them in 2022, the actual law changed into 2024. And so now I'm trying to remember if I have it the right way or the other way, which we have a flip book too, so. Grab that so I can verify that that's right. Okay, yeah, so I did have it right the second time, because I know it changed. I mean, I did have it right from what I was saying. So valid form of ID, North Dakota ID, and then the printed document issued by an institute of higher education. They're going to vote there,
So go back on the, here's a tribal one,
okay?
and it was rejected because it was tribal.
Well, that's not why it was rejected, that they don't, you have to vote in the county that you live in,
Yeah, okay, got it.
and they don't
have
live
that.
here. Yep. Yep.
To that point, I guess, so they could have a tribal ID, but they could show supplemental proof of living in Dickinson, correct?
Right, and they didn't have
They
that.
didn't have that. That's what
No.
they did. That's what they didn't provide.
Right.
Okay.
So they
Okay.
could have had the tribal ID, but they needed something with supplemental.
To show that, well, yeah, I'm a part of that tribe, but I live in Dickinson and have for the last
Yeah.
30
I
days.
knew that
Okay.
too.
Okay.
On this.
All right, looking for a motion for the 32 items on item number L.
I'll move to reject all 32 set aside ballots from item number L.
I will second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor of rejecting, say aye.
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 Accepting, same. All 32 are rejected.
Oh, we're almost there. So now we'll talk about our cured ones. 4. Okay, so all 4 of these were set aside ballots cured by the voter at the auditor's office after the general election with the appropriate supporting documentation. So all 4 of these would have been in the same categories the rest of the set-asides, except they came into the office and showed us the proof that they needed to cure their ballot, and then they can vote. So,
And you would not be handing these out if the information didn't appear to be valid. They wouldn't be considered as cured.
right, this is them showing what they needed to cure their ballot.
Okay,
Yep.
gotcha.
And they had until today to do so.
I think, yeah, they probably go by Friday until, I mean, it's normal hours as well, but we didn't have anybody before this board meeting either, so. Most people, if they're gonna cure it, they're probably gonna do it pretty quickly.
I noticed that.
All right, looking for a motion, item M.
I move to approve these.
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same for rejection. They're approved.
31. Okay, so now, I know some of you have letter openers. Kim, do you wanna come sit by Corey over here?
Sure can.
Because in groups of 2, I will have you open your accepted ballots and then verify it, and then somebody needs to sign in red pen the ballot to make it valid, so that we can send it over to be processed, okay? In our DS 450, so that we can have results today. Okay? So, let me just count.
And you gotta sign them in red, correct? And they have to be
The
in the
one
ready.
signer, and then the other person can probably open 31. I'm just gonna make sure there's 31 here.
I count-
31.
I counted with you,
Chair,
so.
I just need to get up and go next to him.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Kind of. So there's 31.
We just initial at the bottom, correct?
Be right there.
In red ink, yep, your initials will go on the corner of the ballot where it says initials.
Okay, we can start.
Yes.
And you want us to keep the ballots out of the envelope?
Yes.
Okay, so.
Just, so keep the,
Sleeve?
you can put the sleeve aside, the envelope aside, and the ballot aside. So, 1, 2, 3. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because then it'll make it easier for them to put those through. Yep, that's perfect. You guys got the special one, so just keep keep their documentation with their set aside.
So what if it was initialed by the person that,
That happens all the time.
okay, so we just.
Yeah,
mark-
initial beside it.
Do you want me to exit out? or-
I would probably just initial beside it. I'll have to, Amanda, can you look up the mail on that?
What is it?
For initialing ballots, is that too small?
Karen, you want them separate stacks, or how did you want
Yeah,
them?
just put them separate stacks, 'cause-
So, okay.
yeah, just do like 3 stacks.
Bottom right corner.
Bottom right, where it says initials.
Put initials on absentee ballot.
Gotta get this in the little slot here.
No, Pam will know off the top of her head.
They've initialed on their own, I just want to pull them just in case.
All these just go there, you can decide which file to put it in now. Yes, they all do.
It looks like, yeah,
You and I have to go to schools and do some school.
we might have to. I really feel like they need to certify their own ballot.
This one went through there. This one's all wrinkled, it looks like it's had a bath.
She said just initial them, even if they did initial them, right?
Yep.
Okay.
It is right beside it.
Just right beside it, so there's no issue with it?
I knew it happened all the time, I just wasn't sure what they.
And Karen, like, as far as write-ins or anything, that doesn't matter, right? Or,
That was it?
Another neat job. Yeah, go ahead. That's good.
Which you're not honestly even like really looking at what they voted or anything like that. We're just, because we're gonna put that through the 450, and if there's an issue where something needs to be remarked, it'll be brought back.
right.
And then you guys will have to, because it does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, once you guys are done, then we'll move on to the next step, and I'll have Pam run the ballots through the 450, yeah. And then I'll have to go back there and pull the reports. Yep.
Another neat person.
It doesn't matter if they didn't fill some out.
No.
No, they just chose not to.
This person didn't care about the measures.
Nope. Yeah, you don't have to fill in every line.
Oh,
They voted, but it was
got a little, one going on there. Well, they did initial in red.
They did, a few others did over here as well, so.
I think you like think, I think they need to change the red pen to like
Pass
purple
me
or
your
something. Because you would think that people just don't
Yeah.
have like, they're not filling out their ballot in red, so why would they initial it in red?
They can put these with theirs down there.
Okay, here's a stack of just those ones, and then also. Envelopes.
So once
These are just
Pam
those random
runs
ones.
them through the 450 here, if there's any
I'll
that need
put
to
that
be
in that blue.
remarked because of an issue, I will bring it back down and then we'll remark it on canvas.
Take your letter opener down there too.
So sometimes what causes a ballot to need to be remarked by whether it's the absentee board or the canvassing board is, the tabulator does not make assumptions. So if you went and filled in a little bit of this circle and you're like, oh, no, and then filled in all of this circle, it's not gonna decide for you what you meant to do. And so
Then it's when it gets
it's
brought
up
back.
to you to determine if they were doing this one
Open
or
that one.
this one, based on what they did. Rejects the whole ballot. Yes, it does. So, we have it happen a lot more in the primary with more because there's like no cross voting and stuff like that. in the- So there's a lot more ballot errors. And there's like 25 ballots.
Here's this one. Here, and then
You signed it, right?
I initialed it, yeah. I think I did, right?
So these are
Yeah, you
the
did.
Yep.
empty ones.
You witnessed.
Yes.
Good. That's the, yep, that's those ones, those 4 applications. One more envelope here, Karen.
Oh, one more.
Yep.
We got all these.
All those are marked properly. Are really neat. Filling in those.
Well, then you got the good ones. because-
Steve, you wanna pass your letter opener down here?
That one in your hand.
In your right hand.
Oh, the letter opener, yep, sorry.
Sure. Make sure she gets all her letter openers back.
Three.
Okay.
I guess
do we
there's only
have more
groups of 3.
envelopes? There's no way there's 31 here. Is this all of them?
The ones, remember there was 4 of the big,
Yep, for the big ones, but there's
There.
no more, right?
do you want me to count them just to verify? I can go through.
This looks so tribal.
Should be 20, there should be 27.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, if you guys just want to count, and make sure that we're at 30, is it 31?
3, 4,
31. Yeah, 31.
11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. There's 31 here, Karen.
Okay. So I'm going to take these down to Pam to start processing, just so you guys have something to do while we're doing that. Number 6, so you know that in order to meet the threshold to be bumped out of the scattered category as a write-in, you have to be above the 10% of total votes cast for that contest. So that's why I don't have the pages of write-in votes for you guys today, is because nobody made that threshold. Okay? And you'll see that when you look at your abstract here. Okay? So while I take these down here, you will need to review the abstract of votes cast for this election, and ballot certifications. And so when I come back, I'll explain the ballot certifications, but your abstract is in there as well, prior to these. So your votes cast should go up 31 ballots when, hopefully there's no write-in issue with that.
How long does it take you to put them through the machine?
Pretty quick, but
Okay.
I have to put it through the tower and get the results to the state, so that takes a little bit.
20 minutes?
Oh, yeah, no more than that, no.
Okay.
Hopefully it goes right this time.
This abstract always hurts my eyes.
Okay, so how you're reading, they're getting ran through our DS 450 right now, but I was gonna go over on how to read your ballot certification sheet so that you know. So every single site had a ballot certification sheet. So what they were doing is they were balancing at the end of the night, right? So you'll see ballots that they had at the open of the polls, okay? Well, ballots that they had at the open of the polls needs to equal the number of ballots at the close of the polls so that we know that they're balancing. And so every polling location has one of these, and we want voted ballots to equal checked in on poll pads. But we do get some special situations, right? So like We'll take, I'll show you one that doesn't match.
Go over the Dakota room one. I think that's one that doesn't match.
Not the mall. The mall didn't. You see a lot of purple and yellow because I fixed theirs. Okay, so the mall miscounted their end of the night ballots by 25. They had they counted as having 25 more of a specific ballot. Well, when we took down their location, all of their ballots were recounted, and I found that no, they did not have that many of that specific ballot. They just miscounted. It's a long day, I get it. And so I corrected that to 2514, which is what they had of unvoted ballots. And so the total 4916, you'll see 4916 ballots at the close of the poll, okay? Now you'll see voted ballots, 2325. Voted ballots is the number of ballots that went through that DS 200, okay? But you'll see checked in on poll pad 2326 because they checked somebody in that should have been set aside, okay? But they put it in a set aside envelope, right? And the ballot was in there, but they were checked in as a regular voter.
Regular voter, not a set
The
aside
receipt
one.
didn't say set aside.
So
So it
ideally
threw them off by one
Yeah.
for checked in versus voted. So on our side, we fixed it. We put them as a set aside, but they wouldn't have been able to fix it at the polling location. Okay? So that person did not have the documentation needed to get to cast that ballot, and it was put into the correct envelope. Okay? Just showed set aside on their thing until we fixed it at my office.
Is that why let me pull it up again.
Richardson?
Richardson's
the opposite.
Okay, they have provisional, which it should be, or should it not say
So they were
provisional?
checked in as a set-aside voter,
Okay,
okay? So that's why you see 614 plus one provisional, because they were checked in as a set-aside voter, but they were not done properly to do it as a set-aside, didn't
Okay.
do the envelope and stuff, and that ballot went through the DS 200.
gotcha.
So that was counted. Okay, so theirs was the opposite.
Okay,
And it does happen,
right.
Yeah.
This is
yeah.
seems very convoluted, kind of, in a way, but can you explain Dakota room? I'm having a hard time. Things are supposed to match and everything, so if we add up lines 1 through 4 on the number of ballots, 6, and then 324, 609, and then 1 set aside, it doesn't equal 3740. It equals 3640. 6 plus 3024 plus 609 plus 1. Yeah, so we're getting 3640 for that. And then that doesn't correspond with the ballots at open. And then if we take the ballots at close of polls minus our voted ballots, that also doesn't the math doesn't add up.
So, okay, so if they were I know I took some ballots from the Dakota room to the mall.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if that's it's on their paperwork, but I'm wondering if that's what was throwing them out.
Karen from the mall,
Yeah,
Where do you,
250. So go flip the one ahead of the
the first one?
yes.
Oh,
so
for
the very
early?
first one, because it says additional from Karen. So was that the 250 on that one, Karen?
was it 250?
On the early mall voting?
Not early voting, election day.
Oh.
Yeah.
Never mind. Okay, gotcha. Never mind. Sorry.
I took some from there, but that would be on the ballot certification sheet, not on this sheet. I took some from the Dakota room to the mall, but let me see. Balance at open and close. Which would be 100. Let me do plus there's 609 here. I'm wondering if they added instead of subtracted the ballots. So 32, 31. They're voted as right. They had one set aside as correct. 6 spoiled, unvoted. Are you getting off by an even 100? I think it's because they didn't. 3640, yeah. It's because they didn't record 3640. So that 3024 ballots at close of polls, that's where they're supposed to get that number from. Okay, so this should be 3640 equals 3640 because the ballots at the opening of polls, they got 100 less than what was stated. And so that should be, I don't know where they're getting 38. I think they added. I think they added 100 to the top part and added 100 to the ballots at the open of the polls to make up for their ballots going from there to the mall.
And they just didn't document that there was ballots removed from their location?
It's on their ballot certification sheet.
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna go grab it when I go grab that other stick and, yeah, it's written on there, cause I moved them.
So it should be 3640?
Same.
So, I think that also includes absentee. Oh, okay. Because the number corresponding with those ballots are for like the. Sales tax.
people don't. Votes for senator. My two House people should have had a total of 10,000 votes. 5,000 voted for me, why wouldn't they vote for House people? And they're always under, I mean, they're under hundreds and sometimes even over 1,000. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They would have voted for.
That's where Steve and.
Why did they cross through this one?
I don't know.
It's like, that does equal the same thing. It's not?
Or he campaigned against each
Right, but they're on some, I think what I read in the Fargo Forum is that he actually supported some of the stuff.
other.
Or something
She
like
sent
that.
out a mailer. It was like through
So you're on the fire department too?
I am, yes.
You go to that big old house fire over there by St. Ben's about a month ago in the middle of the night at 2 a.m.?
Right off of Dell.
Yeah.
I was.
But
I heard it come through.
You had a
and-
baby?
Yeah, I heard it come through, and then I was debating for like 2 minutes there.
Yeah.
I wanted to go wake my wife and the baby up to tell her I was leaving. And I
It
said,
was-
I better not.
It was quite the fire.
Yeah.
So
I drove by afterwards and saw
I-
some photos.
I'm just glad that guy's not my neighbor anymore.
Yeah. No, Andy Parson.
I saw a bunch of them on top of a little nub on a hill. It was probably 100 foot tall. So I came around the backside of them. So I laid down for a second or two and then just kind of calmed down. With my bike. So, down a little valley, then up on another knob from where they were standing. I'll never shoot. She just goes up here downhill that hill. And I can drag it down. This one here, the one that about 2 hours later was right when I got it. Off the road.
Did you say you shot one, Corey, this year?
Yep, opening day.
Nice.
South of Amadon. And then into the east. And then I went out the rest of the weekend, Saturday. With a buddy of mine, and he was.
I apologize, I was getting the final results, so. Oops. Okay, so I do have those final results, but I will go over that certification real quick. I grabbed their paperwork from their polling location. So they started with,
Which one are you on?
excuse me. You don't have this in there. I was gonna verify the Dakota Room ballot certification sheet. So they started with 3840. Okay. And I did take 100, and it's on here that I took 100 from them.
Okay.
Okay. And so they started with 3840. I took 100 from them, so that would have been at 3740. And then let me see what they got here. Oh, I see what they did. Okay. Then they got it correct. They had 3124, and then they added the 100 back in. I see it on their ballot sheet here. So maybe a little confusion at the end of the night. So they would have actually ended, ballots at the close of polls would have been 3124. Does that sound right here?
Yeah, that's right.
And then their first one, that box. So if you add, let me see, 3124. $38.40. I took 100. Yep. Okay, yeah. So that's what they did. They just got a little off course here.
They added to one and subtracted from the other. Where
Actually, you can see it on their sheet. But I get it. It is a long day. Like, so we started here. We were on the right track. And then we're like, uh-oh, we didn't take that 100, so we decided to subtract it off again.
Okay.
So yeah, they did get a little creative on there.
And those went to the, where did you say those 100 went to?
So the 100 went from the Dakota room to the mall. Yeah. Yeah. You see, they were on the right track here at 3124, and then I think last minute they decided, oh, we didn't take that 100 off. But yeah, they did, right?
ED.
Right here on this one.
Got it.
So they started with 300. I took 100 and I initialed by it, and they ended at 143. So this number would have already included the 100 I took off, and see, they double took it off at the end of the night when they were looking for their.
You know why these don't match up?
Ballots are documented closed. Ballots are supposed to be closed. I'm not sure why the BAC was off. Notes. $274. Let me look at that. Let me see, BAC.
Looks like it might be just like a clerical error for the ballots that open and close.
So there must have been one more. No, they had 4 set aside. Voted ballots, 1886, that's right. That's how many went through the machine. Their checked in is right. So the 1886, the set aside of 4 is right. Spoiled and unvoted.
Which one are we looking at?
We're looking at the
BAC.
BAC. 43. What did we get? 262.74. And I checked their spoiled. So my guess is that they, looking at this, right? Because I know their set aside is correct. I know their voted ballots is correct. I checked their spoiled. Is that they miscounted by 1 ballot.
So is there spoiled 12?
No, the unvoted ballots, when they count all of their ballots at the end of the night, they miscounted. Like you see ballots at open of close, ballots at the close of polls.
So they're missing one. From
So they would have been, right. So they would have been miscounted. They missed 1.
number two.
Number 2 would have been
4374.
4374, yeah. They would have been off 1 vote. Now, I will say I had issues with so express vote packets that go through the express votes. They come already prepackaged. And so usually we don't recount when it's sealed. But I had some that were off in that package. And even though they're blank ballots and they're not actual like 36, 37, whatever ballots, like normal ballots that you expect to see, well, that will throw their number off if they're off 1 express vote ballot. And so I did have issues with the express vote ballots being off in there. But one I didn't look into. The biggest one was definitely the mall fixing theirs because of the 25 ballots. Yeah. And, yeah, and then Richardson finding out where that ballot went. Yeah.
So the next thing we have to do is, are you done with your portion of them putting it in the machine?
Yes, yes, and I ran the fresh results. So, if that satisfies kind of your questions, I think we're okay. We get it as close as we possibly can, and then we try to unravel the mysteries the next day. But yeah, sometimes one ballot, maybe, we've had it where somebody threw theirs away, you know? And so you do wind up with some of those. But that was a good correction on that, because they definitely doubled their 100. Let's see here. Was this mine? Okay. Oh,
You grabbed it, I
zero
think.
report. So if everybody would please sign off, this is the DS 450 zero report, saying that machine was at 0 this morning before we ran the ballots through. So you'll just have to sign off on the front page after you review it. And then the other thing we had, Corey, was the abstract of votes. So this was your abstract of votes that I gave you, okay, prior to running these ballots through for canvassing. So we were at 15,203 votes cast.
Anywhere on that page?
Just on the right-hand side is fine. Just saying that it was at 0 and that you see that it's at 0. Yep, so 15,203 was our number from prior to this, okay? Does anybody have any questions about that front page or the abstract itself? You can see the write-ins scattered. They will all stay in the scattered category because we don't have anything above the threshold.
All right.
Okay, and then I have we're on part 5 final abstract. Okay, so I have here the final abstract after we ran the 31 ballots through, and I made 2 copies. Okay, so you will have, whoops, this is not made for too many papers. Okay, so you will have added 31 ballots back through, and they all went through okay. And so it brought your total from the one that you have there to 15,234 for votes cast. 34. We added 31, you guys chose cast 31 ballots. Yep. It's added on. Yeah, you're gonna have to go up. Sorry. Because contests all have their own and you don't have to vote for all the contests. So you started at 15,203 and we wound up at 15,234, so it looks good. And it did not double the write-ins this time.
Okay.
It was really fun in the primary. We didn't want to repeat that. So yeah. Did anybody have any questions about that? Because I'm going to have you sign off on this. Sign off on the abstract showing the new votes. Any questions on the abstract?
No, so we can sign those?
We don't need to make a motion to accept the
No.
final abstract, we just sign off on it.
Yep, let me see here. I think I had it on there that you will go ahead and, I'll have you go ahead and make the motion to accept the final abstract and sign off on it, just to keep it nice and clean.
So we're looking for a motion to accept the final abstract and sign off on it?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, got a first and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Same for
Aye.
no. Approved.
So Corey, you did the first? You made the motion, right?
Look for the motion.
Okay, second, Mitch?
He made the motion. I was looking.
And then
I second it.
Yep.
Okay.
The sneaky on you.
I know. At this point, I'm like, we're there. Okay. Okay, so here is the certification page, and you will sign beside your prospective name. Yep.
Okay.
Make sure that I didn't misspell anything beside your name.
Don't we pass these down, or,
Yep.
here we go.
So I would just verify that that says the new number, with the 31 added. Yes, yeah. About done here. Steve, Mike, we're about done here. Steve, I need you to go turn the camera off. Did anybody need any vouchers for attending the Canvas meeting? You do get paid $17 an hour if you want to claim it. If you're a county employee, sorry, Steve, you volunteered your time. So did I, so did Kim, so did Amanda, so did Corey. But did any of you three need vouchers? Okay. I think overall it was a really good, election. I think
All right, after these are.
it did good.
Yeah, just before we make a motion to adjourn, I just want to thank the auditor's office and give kudos to you and your team and your staff for making sure that this election went as smoothly as it did. I know it's a lot of work, especially on a general election year, for you guys to make sure that everybody's voice is heard and that all ballots are accepted and rejected accordingly. So again, thank you so much to you and your staff for doing
Thanks,
that.
Mitch. We try very, very hard to get it right. And it is a lot of work. And I thought everybody did a pretty good job, right? At the end of the day, if I have to correct a little bit of paperwork, that will always happen.
I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay?
Second? All right.